Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about a topic that is related to fear and anxiety when you want to start something new. Um, because I used to be someone who would get scared pretty easily when I want to start something new, that I would give up before I even started, right? Because your brain already found all those excuses and all the reasons for you to give up, right? But that has changed recently because I started asking myself that one question that changed everything, and it is really quite simple. Is asking yourself, what is the worst case scenario if I do it? Because us as human beings, we 99% of the time, our anxiety and our overthinking makes a situation way worse than it is. Like, let's say you want to start something new, a new project. Let's say, for example, YouTube. You want to start YouTube, like you have always dreamed about YouTube, but you don't even think about starting because you're like, first thing, what if someone I know sees it? What if people make fun of me? What if people start bullying me? That's like one side of people's thoughts. And then second thing is like, and even if I do start, look at how many creators there are, look at how many YouTubers, what difference am I gonna make? And then, you start scaring yourself and then trying to convince yourself not to do something because as human beings we like to be in our comfort zone. So why am I going to put myself out there? Why am I going to risk being bullied? Why am I going to risk people making fun of me? Why am I going to risk, like, whatever it is? Try to reassure yourself not to do anything because you're like, it's not worth it. But honestly, when you ask yourself this question, like, what is the worst case scenario if I do try that thing, if I do start that new project, you will see that it's not that bad. And it's not just in your mind. Like, I need you to literally, when you want to start something new and you're scared and you give up before you've even started, just take some time, take a pen, a paper, and just write it out. Like, literally write it out. Write it as detailed as possible. Like, what's the worst that could happen? And you know what happens most of the time? You'll start thinking like, actually it's not that bad, because even the worst possibility that I've written out, if that does happen, then it's not that bad. Why was I making it this bad in my mind? Like, it's actually no big deal. And it really starts changing a lot to ask yourself that when you want to start something new, because like I said, most human beings, we give up before we've even started, which is so sad because you guys, everyone has so much potential, but most people only use 10% of that because their fears, their insecurities are stopping them from pursuing whatever it is they want to, whether it's a new hobby, whether it's starting your art. Let's say you want to become a singer, or you want to become a YouTuber, or there's that business you want to start, like, most of you guys have the potential to do it, but you're letting your fears keep you from doing that. And as I said, those fears are making the things worse than they really are. Like, of course, I'm not generalizing it because there are exceptions where your fears are legit, but I'm talking about the most common situation where your fears are really not that bad. Like, they really make your brain is making it worse than what it actually is. And I'm talking for experience for multiple things. I was scared to quit my job. Like, I was so scared. Like, and afterwards, when I asked myself that question, I wrote it out. I was like, it's not that bad. Why am I so scared? I was so scared to start my business. And there, once again, now looking back here, like, what was I so scared of? Um, for traveling by yourself. It might be super scary at first, but it's your dream. Let's say it's your dream to travel by yourself. That was me. Like, it was literally my dream to travel by myself. And when I got to the point where I could finally travel by myself, I got so scared. And I never thought I would get scared, but I did. And but imagine I let those thoughts stop me from doing it. It would have been so sad, right? Because that was literally my dream. It's the same thing for quitting my job, for starting my business, and for a lot of different things in life. You just have to get out there. As I said, ask yourself, if I do make that decision, if I do pursue that goal, that new hobby, that project, what's the worst that can happen? Like, literally, what's the worst that can happen? And you'll be surprised to hear your answers. And seeing it written out, you realize like it's not that bad most of the time. And now I've been talking mainly about like projects, works, dreams, but it can be even in your daily things where you let your fear convince you not to do something. Like, let's say you see a guy, you're out, you see a guy, he's pretty cute, um, but you would be like, I would never ever go out there and talk to him, because it will be so embarrassing. But again, like, write it out. What's the worst that can happen? He's just gonna say, no, sorry, I have a girlfriend, or no, sorry, I'm not interested. The worst case scenario, maybe he'll start laughing at you and making fun of you, which is pretty rare, but let's say he does do that. Okay, that's the worst case scenario. So what? That just shows you what kind of person he is, and then you just move on because you don't want to be with such a person anyway. So literally, that's why, as I said, writing it out, it just clears a lot of things, because in this situation, first, the thing that keeping you back, you'll be like, no, it will be so embarrassing if he refuses me. But then when you write it out, you see so much clearly, and you're like, even if the worst case he makes fun of me, actually makes me realize I don't want such a guy. So it can literally be applied to everything in life. When you want to do this, but you're like, I could never do this, it's too scary. Most of the time, as I said, you can just write out the worst case scenario, and it's not that deep, honestly. Like, when you think about it, life is not that serious. I mean, it doesn't have to be. Of course, there are things in life where you do have to be serious, but what I'm talking about here is like, in your daily life, in your project, you want to start something new, just do it. Time goes by super fast, like it really flies, and it's such a shame, such a pity that you are keeping yourself from pursuing those dreams and those projects because you're scared. And that's what I keep telling myself when I have those kind of feelings, like, time is flying, like, from the time you started thinking about this dream or this project, and now look already how much time has passed just because you were scared. Like, you should just do it. Honestly, just do it. Don't be scared. um, and honestly, most of the time you're not going to regret it. Okay, so that's it for today's video, but the last thing I want to say is, if you don't even try, you will probably end up with a lot of what ifs, a lot of regrets. And when I think about it this way, like, I imagine myself 10 years later or 20 years later, and I imagine myself having so many regrets, like, oh, what if I had pursued that? What if I had done that project? What if I had listened to my dream and I had done this? And having so much regret. For me, when I think about this kind of scenario, that's actually my worst case scenario. I don't want to be this kind of person. I want that later in the future, whether it be 10 years later, 20 years later, that I don't have regrets in this aspect, that all the things I wanted to try, I did. If there was a business I wanted to do, I did it. If there was this new hobby I wanted to try, I did it. I don't want to feel like I've missed out on my life. And also, I don't, same for you guys, I also don't want you to feel that way later in the future. So that's why I really want you guys to try to pursue your dreams, because life is short. So, okay, that was it for today. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have liked the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and also leave a comment. I'm curious to hear your thoughts about that topic, and if you have any other advice to share with everyone else. Okay, see you.